start to move towards the upper body, it's really important to understand that there is a lot of activation that goes on there. As I showed you through the rest of the body and through the hands, there is so much activation, and I've even touched on it a little bit before when we're in plank and telling you to wrap the triceps underneath and externally rotate the upper arm. But we really need to start thinking now about the different postures that we're going to encounter. And as we start to move on to the technique, this is going to even give you a little bit of a heads up in regards to the technique that is involved. Now, it doesn't matter if you're in a crow position or you're in a handstand position. There's a few fundamentals that stay the same. And one thing I want to ask before we go on with this is, when you've done a press-up or a chaturanga, have you found that your elbows want to split out to the sides? This is like internal rotation of the humerus, okay? And when the humerus starts to internally rotate, the elbows split out to the sides. Now, a lot of the postures that we're going to go through, it's elbows in, elbows pinned into the side. You may have seen that in a chaturanga. The elbows are pinned in towards the side. They're not splaying out. And usually why you splay out is because you may be weak through the external rotators of the shoulder, maybe through the triceps as well, and you're trying to recruit the chest to find that strength. But now it's about, this is why we're breaking it down into these foundations, is really trying to nail down this strength in the right areas, because if you try and rush into the postures without really creating that foundation of strength that is needed, then you can put yourself at risk of injury, and you're also going to make your life a lot easier further down the line, and you'll see your practice blossom as you go further on. These three principles that I'm talking about are externally rotating the shoulders, alright, and that just involves you externally rotating the humerus and the glenohumeral joint. Also pushing away, and then the third one is pulling together. Now, I'm going to show you a view where it just shows you the activation of the musculature in the back body, and you'll be able to see how much strength is recruited when I put all three of these different points together. Take a look. Did you see the activation of the musculature in my back when I put all three of those different coaching points together? This is needed. All three of these coaching points are needed to create this solid foundation around the shoulder girdle. And you'll have seen there that I did an overhand variation of activation. And that is because for a lot of people, they strive to do a handstand, and it's really important for you to understand as well that the further you go over your head with your hands, the more unstable the shoulder becomes, so you need more strength, and the more important those three key points are. Now, within this class that I'm going to show you, we are actually going to be creating strength around the shoulder girdle, but to create strength around the shoulder girdle in that static position, you need to be thinking about those 3 points the whole time. We're not just going to be covering that area, we'll also be building upper body strength through the triceps, through the chest and through the shoulders as well. And it will be a little bit of a merging of a lot of exercises, because we want to become strong in a lot of different hand balance or inversion postures. So it's important to build those strong foundations. So let's get to it. As I said, there's going to be a lot of activation that goes on here, so we're going to be incorporating those 3 coaching points in a lot of different positions, and we'll start off in a 4-point kneeling position and start to get used to the shoulder. And it's really about trying to explore the shoulder at first, and you become more aware of the musculature and what muscles are being activated, the more that you tune in when you're actually doing the exercises. And that's why it's really important to be as present as you possibly can whilst you're doing these classes, because you're learning about your body, and your body's learning about you as well. It's learning how much strength that you have in certain places, how much proprioception, and the body can adjust to allow you to achieve your goals of these hand balance exercises that we're going to be practicing. So come down onto all fours, have your palms directly underneath your shoulders, and straight away we want to start to create this activation. So I want you to think about wrapping the triceps underneath. I'll just show you from that angle there as well. So trying to turn the elbows to face towards me. You're still pushing down this knuckle of the index finger and thumb in towards the floor. And you're trying to activate through the lats. You'll feel the lats start to activate as you do this. We obviously can't, we're not going to crunch up like this in this position, but I want you to wrap underneath, and I want you to try and pull your hands together. Imagine trying to pull them together, but don't let the elbows split out towards the sides. And just keep that there. And we're going to hold that activation for 10 seconds. Activate fully for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now tuck the toes and sit back onto your hunches there, and take your hands above your head, and we're going to try exactly the same, but this time we can push away. So push up in towards the sky, wrap underneath, feel that engagement right underneath the armpits there, and hold for 10, 9, 8, it's actually really hard just by activating these muscles, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and bring the hands down onto the mat. Start bringing it in an overhead position, and this is where things like a puppy pose or a downward dog, if you're activating correctly, you can make it a really good strengthening exercise every single time you come into it. Just depends on how you want to manipulate these exercises, and that's what I'll be thinking about with any posture in yoga, is trying to adapt it to what you actually want to achieve. Alright? So from here, I want you to sink back. So you have your hips directly over your knees, and I want you to push away into the floor, and again, wrap underneath with the triceps. Feel that activation there, and then pull the hands together and hold there for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Roll back up towards the top. We'll do that one more time. So 3 different positions, activating in all of them. And then we're going to work into a little bit of rotator cuff strengthening as well. So push in towards the floor. That's what I want you to do this time. Push into the ground, so you create this slight rounding of the upper back. Pull the hands together and then rotate the humerus, this big long bone here. Rotate it in its socket. Feel that activation there. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we're going to keep that activation on this time. We're going to try and walk back with the knees and sink down into that puppy pose position. Feel it want to switch off, and you have to activate and push away into the floor this time, and hold there for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, push away, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, back onto your heels. Push the hands into the sky. We go again. We push up, wrap underneath. Feel that activation for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax down there. So it becomes pretty intense, and you could ache in the morning just by doing that exercise. Now, what we want to be thinking about as well is this external rotation of the shoulder. Now, I've looked at a lot of different people doing a chaturanga, a press up, And when the elbows are splaying out to the side, it's usually a lack of external rotation through the shoulders, and like I said, a little bit of a lack of strength through the triceps, and also a lack of awareness for that point. So what I want you to do is come into this cactus position. For this, I want you to, rather than pull the shoulders up towards these, I want you to try and draw down so you really just isolate through the external rotators. And I want you to come down with the hands and then back up. Back down and back up. I'm just going to go for 20 repetitions there for 3, for 4, for 5, for 6, for 7, for 8, keep the shoulders down, for 9, for 10, 11, 12, probably find it harder now, 13, 14, 15, it's an endurance muscle, you have to work in an endurance capacity. It's part of the rotator cuff, which acts as the stability of the shoulder. And 20, hold there in that upright position. Keep pulling the hands back, try and get them over the tops of the elbows and keep the elbows or the upper arm parallel to the floor. Keep in that position. You might feel like it wants to cramp up a little bit. Come up into the sky, and then I want you to turn the fingers back, and again I want you to wrap underneath. Wrap underneath with this musculature. Same principles, pushing away, wrapping underneath. Feel that activation underneath the shoulders. Come back down into that position. We go 20 again. So go down, back up for 1, for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, yeah, you feel it now, 9, keep the form, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Okay, bring the hands down there, give the shoulders a little bit of a shake off. Take your right hand to the outside of your right hip, and then just pull in this elbow a little bit, not too much. Inhale and exhale there. That might feel really tight, especially after working through the shoulders so much there. And it just shows you don't have to have these big movements. And for a lot of people, we're actually already quite strong through the big global muscles of the body, but we're quite weak through the stabilizers of the body. This refinement of movement that comes from working these deep stabilizing muscles, like the rotator cuff. But the rotator cuff's got a huge function in the shoulder in regards to keeping good shoulder health and stopping you from becoming injured. And also, when you've got your arms above your head, if you remember what I said about this proprioception, where your central nervous system is kicking off and contracting and relaxing muscles, that's the same way as if you're standing on one foot that the shoulder does, alright? The rotator cuff does within the shoulder. Alright, release off there, give the hands a little bit of a shake. We come round onto all fours there again. So set up your position. And what we're going to do from here is we're going to go down onto our forearms. And we're going to do a little bit of foundational strength work in a forearm position. This is really good for a forearm stand. And it's basically like a downward dog, but with your elbows down. Call it dolphin pose. You take your elbows down towards the floor, and again what I want you to think about in this position is that your hands are directly in front of your elbows, and we're all recreating this external rotation again. And in fact, let's do that. Let's go for a few repetitions where we go cross hands over, move them out all the way. Keep the elbows where they are. Cross over and away. Cross over, away. And what you'll find, keep going there, keep the elbows in the same place. What you'll find is if you're weak through the external rotators, when you start going into this overhead position, your hands will want to creep in towards each other. So it's important to try and keep the strength through the outer arm. Plant the hands down. Squeeze into the floor, still pushing in with that knuckle. Don't come up onto this relaxed, lazy position of just letting the knuckle come up. Squeeze down with the hands. And I want you to have your knees directly over your hips here. Push into the floor with the toes, and then extend the legs and drop the head back into this gap that you've created with the elbows. And you don't have to straighten the legs. We're trying to keep a nice flat back position, but also what we can do here is start to bring our weight over our elbows, and actually you're still using the same principles. Push away, wrap underneath, and pull the elbows together rather than the hands. Elbows together, hold there for another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Drop onto the knees, sit back under the hunches, hands onto your lower back, draw the elbows back. And draw the shoulders back, and we'll go into it one more time. So come down onto your forearms, hands directly in front of the elbows, tuck the toes, and then drop the head back in between the arms, and then hold there. It's going to hold there. If you want to walk the feet in a little bit further, and it's just trying to really get the hips over the head, and that's or over the shoulders, and that's really important because when you're trying to find the centre of gravity, when you go into a handstand or a headstand, then that's where the hips need to be. Slowly come down onto the knees from there, into that thunderbolt pose. Take the hands onto the back, draw the shoulders back. One last time. Now we're going to start to move towards a little bit of upper body strength. Now we're going into things like the crow, or you know, there's a lot of different movements that you can do from that position where you have yourself in pretty much, it's the same shape as what you would have in a chaturanga. So if I just showed you now, chaturanga, you can see my shoulders are really far over my fingertips. And what people tend to do when they're doing press-ups, when they're doing chaturangas, is because they haven't got the strength, when they're coming down, they're firing the elbows backwards and keeping the shoulders over the hands, like literally over the mid of the hand. What we need to really try and think about doing is building this strength, flexibility through the wrist and sending the shoulders further forwards. And then that sends us into this place where we can do our crows and our crane positions. So what I want you to do here, I want you to really be strict with yourself. The main thing is that we're keeping our elbows in at all times, pinning them in towards the sides, working through that external rotation that I was talking about before. And this is how it works. So, take your hands directly underneath your shoulders, corkscrew into the floor, create that activation straight away, and I want you to find this, rather than this tucked and squeezed position like we usually do, I want you to go with a little bit of a pelvic tilt forwards. And you're walking your knees in to about one hand's distance from the hands, okay? Knees in, one hand's distance towards the hands. You're going to point up the toes like so. And then I want you to shift your weight forwards and drop down the head. So you're moving as one unit. There's not just the movement of the upper body, the whole body, if you're keeping your spine in the right position, will move as one. And that'll really isolate this position that we were talking about before. If you want to make it a little bit harder, then you just bring your knees back. And that'll create a little bit more strength, but it just depends on how you want to do this. I would say start with that one hand, and it can be quite difficult if you stick to these principles and stick to the right form as well. And we're going to go 10 press-ups here. You can stick something there so you don't face plant the first time. But we're going to shift our weight forwards, keep the elbows pinned in towards the sides. I'm going to come over, tap the nose on the floor. Remember, squeeze into the ground, come forwards for 2. Don't let those elbows split out. Forwards for 3. If you find that you're getting really tired, towards 5, this is number 5, then have a break or pause it and then come back in again. Got 5 more for 1, 2, I'm keeping that control as well. Last 3, over. 2, keep pushing that bum out, don't cheat. And 1. Alright, come back up onto your knees, thunderbolt position again. We're going to work through this shrug, breaking down 2 different points from those 3 things that I was talking about. The pushing away, and we're going to be working through that rotational element, this external rotation of the arms. Obviously our hands are going to move out to the side here because they're not planted into the floor. But the main thing you want to be thinking about is drawing the bottom of the arm, the triceps underneath, when we get to that. So bring the hands up into the sky. We're just going to be pushing up into the sky. And we're going to hold there for 10 seconds. So hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Pull those fingers back as far as you can as well. Feel the extensors of the forearm kick in. And then come back down. Now push up and down. 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And relax down there with the arms. A little bit of a stretch up here for the shoulders. You must be feeling it through all of these little muscles within the shoulder now. You've got a lot around there. There's so much that stabilizes the scapula, your shoulder blade, through these movements. And actually your scapula moves up and down as you bring your arm overhead without going into it too much. There needs to be that control through the full range of movement, and that's why, rather than just practicing, if you want to get good at a handstand, just doing handstands, it's good to get strong in all other places that you need to to create this foundation of strength. And that's what the whole point of this this series is that we're trying to create strength in balance around the upper body, and that way you become more rounded, and in the long run the handstand becomes easier because you've worked a lot around every single aspect around the shoulder and you've got to know your body a little bit more. A little bit of a stretch here, so arms up overhead. I want you to grab your left wrist and I want you to pull it up over the top. So you start to get this stretch and this opening through the latissimus dorsi, down the side of the body, and you can sort of tilt the hips over that way as well. Always try to use the breath to open yourself up here. Sit down into it. Come up to the top, other side, grab the other wrist, over we go. Let the hips drop to one side, pull over the top of the other hand. That's it, keep there. I'm going to go back into one more set of the press-ups that we just did there. Haven't created a name for them yet. Maybe a nose dive press-up, it's a good one. So, again, see where your knee lands. Maybe you can go a little bit further back this time. Squeeze into the floor, set those foundations up, elbows in. create the activation through the toes even here. So point the toes, push the bum up towards the sky and then keep like that. Shift the weight forwards and drop the nose down. Go up for 1. Over. For 2. Pin in. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. Keep going. 8. 9. One more. And 10. Well done. Come back into this thunderbolt position. And what I want you to do this time is, rather than pushing up and coming back down, I actually want you to push up and stay there, but I want you to wrap underneath this time. So wrap underneath and hold there for 10 seconds. Get that full movement going on. Even this time I want you to try and tilt the pelvis underneath rather than in that traditional thunderbolt pose, having a neutral spine, squeeze and tug. Hold there for another 2, 1. Okay, from there, release off. Feel the posture go as well. But I want you to relax through the shoulders. Feel the difference between having the shoulders down. There's nowhere near as much stability. Push up towards the top. And this time we're going to wrap underneath. Wrap underneath. We're going to go 10. In fact, let's go 15. 1, 2, tuck underneath the pelvis as well. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Give the arms a shake off. And this is, you know, we're only doing really small movements here, but it just shows if you actually activating the right areas, it becomes quite hard, and it also sort of highlights to you these areas that you don't necessarily work that much, which are really important for the obvious handstands, hand balance in general. So come up over the top with both hands this time. And we're going to reach over, but this time I want you to turn the thumb up and pull away. Turn the thumb up, pull it away from the body. Let the hips drop over to the other side. So a little bit of a lateral tilt of the pelvis. So you're just sort of shifting the pelvis like this. And that'll open up the whole side of the body there. Come up and over, opposite side, turn the thumb up again, pull out. So thumbs up with that hand. Keep it in that position. Stay there. And come back round towards the central point. Do a little bit of an opening again after we've done. This is a forearm press up. So again, this will help you in terms of the strength to be created if you're doing something like a forearm stand. Forearm stand is actually a little bit more muscularly taxing than a handstand, but it takes less balance because you have more of a base of support, because you have your whole of your forearm and the hand on the floor. It's a totally different movement which we'll go through in the future. Now this is your forearm press up, and you're basically just bringing your hips down and your shoulders are coming towards your hands. Before you start this, set up the position. We're going to do 2 rounds of this. So you're going to have elbows directly behind the hands, push down through the knuckle of the hand, because this will be the position when we go into the actual forearm stand in the future. So come forwards, all the way down and press up. And I want you to think as you come down again, let's tuck underneath with the pelvis and squeeze. Come down, all the way back up. Nice and slow. Tuck, come forwards, back up. You will ache through your arms tomorrow, especially if you haven't done any exercise like this before. Come down for 4. If you want to make this easier again, then you can just bring the knees in and just allow a little bit less movement through the body. If you want to make it harder, you can come into this press up position or this plank position, traditional plank. Another 4 of those. 1, 2, 3, 4. Drop onto the knees, come back into that stretch again. And it's just important to keep revisiting these areas. This is a common area that people are really tight is through the lats and not being able to bring their arms overhead, which I explained a little bit earlier how it can cause issues. So thumb up. So you're literally there, you're using the latissimus dorsi, this big, like the wings of the back. You're using it like a flannel. You're putting this torsion on that allows you to get a little bit more of a stretch. The arms will you're starting to get a little bit tired now. Again, it's just doing the right amount for you. So if you're feeling that you're really maxing out at this point, then step off the gas and try it again another time. You just need to have the right amount of stimulus that allows you to, other side, that allows you to have progression, but you're not taking over in these other areas, these other muscles trying to compensate when these small muscles that you've maybe not worked before come to such a state of fatigue that they just switch off. They don't want to have any more. They send the workload over to another part of the body for stabilisation, and then that's where you start to get these little niggly injuries. So you just have to be conscious of that, and if your neck's starting to feel a bit tight, then stop. Stretch off, maybe go into the neck mobilization class that I've got on the body section, and then have your day's rest, or even have a couple of days rest, whatever feels good to you. And it's all about trying to think about what your body needs, not what the program says, okay? And that's anything in general, because we can put a generic program out, but you know your body better than I do. And it's about learning about that. So, we're going to finish off with 5 of the nosedive press-ups, and then 5 of the forearm press-ups. Place the hands in the right position, about 1 pace away from the hands, knees pinning together, toes up, come down for 1, 2, elbows in, 3, that's one of the keys here, 4, 5, plant the elbows down, maybe walk the knees back slightly if you want to, come forward, shoulders over the hands, keep elbows in, hands out. 3, 4, and 5 from there. Have a little bit of a loosen off from that point, and then we'll go on to just a couple of static holds again to reinforce those 3 different coaching points and end on that note. Bring your hands forwards. I'm going to walk the hands around towards this right hand side. Left arm comes up over the top, huge stretch down through the lateral side of the body. Walk the hands around towards the left hand side, up and over the top. Walk back round again, plant that hand, up and over, and back through. All the way around, up and over again. That's it. When you come up here, squeeze and tuck through the pelvis. And then we're going to go into our downward dog. And the downward dog, it can be a really good strengthening movement, like I said before, if you're engaging properly. So really think about those 3 points, pulling the hands together, yeah? Imagine you're pulling the hands together, wrap underneath of the triceps and push away when you're in that position. And we're actually going to start to walk our feet towards our hands and get the hips up over the hands as well, which will be working again into this more of an inverted position. We're inverted anyway in downward dog, so you've done some inversion already. Now push away, wrap underneath, feel the engagement,
hold there. A little bit different, we're not tucking underneath as we are in downward dog, we're actually pushing our bum towards the sky. That's it, so wrap underneath, keep holding there, push away. That's it, and then I want you to walk the feet in a little bit further. And it's imagining you're trying to get the hips up over the hands. Feel the difference there, feel how much more muscular effort there is there to hold, and also the abs have got to work well. Push into the floor, wrap underneath. That's it, and then look down in between the thumbs there. Push away, walk the hands back. Push away, wrap underneath again, wrap underneath. When you bring the hips over as well, you want to be tucking underneath with the pelvis. That's it, wrap underneath, wrap, wrap, wrap. And then drop onto the knees. Alright, take both elbows up over the top of the head. And just take a side bend towards the right hand side. Up towards the centre, over towards the left hand side. We're going to finish on a shoulder static hold. Sorry, not a shoulder, a forearm static hold. Like we did before, 30 seconds. And again, walk the feet in, try and get the hips up over. It's a little bit easier to get it up and over in this forearm position that is the handstand, the downward dog position. So pick the knees up, bring the weight over, push into the floor. Same principles, wrap underneath, push away. Pull the elbows together rather than the hands this time. And hold there for another 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Onto the knees. Well done. That is a very, very tough session. It doesn't really feel like there's that much movement in it in regards to the overall exercises, but the movements that are there are chosen. They're chosen exercises to allow you to engage correctly. And the more that you're engaging in these positions, the more you start to really feed it over into the more technical postures. This is the main reason why you are creating these foundations. And it almost becomes a little bit more of an automatic reaction of the body to engage when you get into these different shapes, because you've done it before. And that is starting to learn the new skills that are involved through hand balance exercises. So well done.